Hello, and I'm back again. This is Sha'E with an E. It's the new year, 2023, and I'm very excited. The first one back, and I am joined right now by the phenomenal queen, who is Miss Leticia Walker, a daughter, a mother, grandmother, spouse, friend, Christian singer, songwriter, choir director, cook, teacher, student, businesswoman. These are some of the many faces of Leticia Walker, a multi talented artist and published author. Grounded in faith, she has a spiritual outlook towards life and she aims to share with everyone, I should say, through her music and written works. Leticia, born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, knew by the age of 5 that she wanted to be an entertainer. This soulful queen grew wings and ventured out of Allentown, putting her faith over her fear and walking into her gifts. Her journey will be led to connect to mine to have this conversation with me today. It is a joy and an honor to welcome the talented songstress, Miss Leticia Walker, to Conversations with Sha'E, Faith Over Fear. Hi, Tish, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
I am doing well, doing well. Very excited to spend this time with you today. I know that reading some of your story that you knew by the time you were 5 years old that you wanted to be an entertainer. Tell me a little bit about that and tell me about yourself.
Well, there was a lot of entertaining going on in my family. Um, I have my cousins were musicians and sang. My mother sang a little bit and danced. Um, and I lived near the YWCA when I was younger, and they had, classes for little kids that my mother would take me to. So I got introduced to that whole thing with Broadway and little tap girls with top hats at a very early age and recitals. So I knew when I was young, I would listen to things on the radio and I would pretend to be Elvis of all people.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I grew up thinking I was going to be the next female Sinatra. I'd strain, and then Motown, like just like shot across the world. And then I was every possible combination of a Motown artist there could be. And I would do the sitting in the mirror with my brush and pretend to be singing. I just loved it. I loved music. I loved picking songs off the radio and then putting up against my life and saying, "Oh, this is how this song's about me. The song's about
Mhm.
my life and things that are going on around me." So music just, I almost feel like it was in my veins and I was kind of born into it. I just think it's a gift. And I think when God gives you gifts that even at an early age, sometimes you know it. You may not know the extent of it or what you'll do with it. But I think, especially when you're young, if you really feel like in your gut, in your soul, that like I couldn't wait to get to church to sing.
Right, right,
So um, singing actually, I guess, was started my connection with
right.
Christ. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And I've actually listened to your some of the music that you put out through your YouTube channel that we will share for other people to tap in. I tell you what, songs from the latest collection, Lit from Within, it has a total New Jersey club vibe, like a total, like back in the day club vibe. I just love that. Maybe I'll be able to play some of that music here, but I'll definitely have the link. And then also, Better Than Anything. Oh gosh, Tish, that jazzy feel, that was the song that felt like I was watching a movie and there that was the soundtrack that was playing, right? I love that one. And then the other one that was just so catchy and fun, it was Jesus Is Mine. How you did that, it was like a right downright groovy, type of sound and such a good positive message and reminder that Jesus is everywhere we go. So those that music that you're writing is such an inspiration. I wanted to know where do you get your inspiration from in writing your music?
Well, first of all, let me be clear, is that I actually only wrote two songs, the first two.
Okay.
And the other ones are old hymns, um, some newer hymns by other people. And what I did was I always felt like there should be more people seats in the church. Like more people should be sitting in the pews than were
Hmm.
there. And I always thought that not everybody likes the same type of music, and we should change it up. And I never really had any control over that until I became a choir director.
Okay.
So we had a chancel choir that did Mozart and all of that kind of thing. And then there was the choirs I directed. And I would take popular songs that you might hear on the radio and write new lyrics for them that made them work in the church about God and Jesus and those sorts of relationships. And sometimes it would annoy the pastor, but we work through those things.
Right.
I believe that music is a gift from God, all music. And I think that anytime, no matter what you're singing, disco, jazz, rock, whatever, anytime you use that gift, you're giving glory to God. I think it's really awful to have a talent and not share it.
Hmm.
So I was like, more people might come and listen if they had something that they were interested in. And it seemed to work. So when I went to a producer, an engineer, a friend, and I said, I want to do this album. I need to do this album. And I want it to be a jazz fusion album. And he looked at me like, what is wrong with you? I said, I want it to be jazz and I want it to be gospel. I
Right.
said, with a little bit of disco. I
Right.
said,
Right.
I wanted it to be musically me.
Right. Right.
Um, and it took a while, but he got it, and he got musicians for me who got it really quick and understood what I was trying to do. I was on a mission. I want people to have their spirits lifted. I want people to be able to enjoy the music, but get the message.
Right.
And what was happening a lot of times is people were hearing the music, but it wasn't music they enjoyed. So sometimes they didn't quite get the message.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I was trying to do. And so I took some, like you liked Better Than Anything.
Yes.
If memory serves me, that was an Al Jarreau tune back in the day.
Okay, okay. I knew some of the lyrics. I mean, it just sounded so good, and your voice, you could tell, is very well trained. You have that like that show voice of like theater, like like a good Broadway voice. That's what you bring across. So I knew the song kind of sounded familiar. There was another one too. I think it was The Power of Love. That one
Yeah,
too. I
that's
knew that that was a remake too. And I was thinking like, wow, how do you get the opportunity to remake such good classics? Like, how does that happen? Because I always wonder, like, when you're remaking a song, is there a big process that goes along with that? Like, how do you get to do that?
there is a process, and I will say, I hope I got it right, but I think through the process. Um, you have to uh, apply for or purchase the mechanical rights, a license to sing that song.
Okay.
Um, and as long as nobody gives you any nonsense about changing things, I try not to uh, change the core of a piece of music because I believe that's the writer's baby. Lyrics, I'll play with them, and you can keep the general idea of the song. Better Than Anything is a great example because I wrote one extra verse for that
Okay.
song, and then I changed the last word in the last word, and I forget what it is because I've been singing better than God's love. So I don't
Okay.
know. I forget what was better before,
Right.
but we added God's love, and that's all we
Love
had to
it.
do for that one.
Right.
Some of the other songs were a little harder to work. Some things we had to add to,
Right.
uh, and some things I just added to because I thought they needed it, like the prayer of Saint Francis.
Yes.
I had a wonderful arranger, Aaron Graves, out of Philly,
Okay.
and he and I sat together, and I would tell him what I wanted, what I was feeling, and how I felt it, and he just put it all out there for me. And then he added that last, I call it the cushy part.
Hmm.
Uh, he wrote the music for the last cushy part of the Prayer of Saint Francis, and so I'm like, that's beautiful, but all right. So then I went home and I wrote a melody to the new part of the song and the
Right.
lyrics. And then I was like, oh my God, I really like this. So, and I think it kind of finishes the idea is that, I'm here for you, God. Use me
Yeah.
to put your word out there, to help people find the light, to help people on the path. You know, we can help each other. I believe that everybody has a light, and I just think sometimes they're covered or they just need a little, I don't know, kerosene, gas, you
Yeah.
know, um, because not everybody's exposed. I found that out, when you're little, living in Allentown, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
um, you kind of think your life experience is everybody's life experience.
So true.
And yeah, and then once you leave, it's like a culture shock.
Right. Right.
Um, so I just think it's really important that we all find that light, help it grow, and I think that the world will be a better place because we'll all be coming from the same spirit in the same direction and going in the same direction.
Yes. You said something. A point there as a gem you just dropped. You want to be the light. And a lot of times people, especially coming from small towns, because I grew up in Easton, the ABE area. And once you know that you kind of think that's all that there is, right? And sometimes, like we always had the light, but somebody said this in one of my previous conversations was, but I didn't know what it was. I had the light, but I didn't recognize it to be anything valuable because maybe others around me didn't have the light or they didn't recognize the light in me. So it takes us to grow and leave where we're from to go on a journey, as you all called it, a path. And in that way, we'll begin to recognize our light, our gifts, things like in that nature. um Making a move like you did, like even we're talking about leaving from our familiar comfort zone, leaving from our hometowns and stepping out and moving out on your faith. There had to be a bit of fear that came along with that. How did you overcome, and where did your faith tie in if you had to overcome fear in any part of your journey?
Prayer. You have to pray. Uh, a lot of time, for a long time, I recognize now that God was talking to me. I just wasn't listening.
Mm.
He was telling me where to go, what to do, how to do it. And I was leaning on my own thought processes and realizing that, oh, I can't touch that because that's going to burn me, or I can't go to this park because I might fall off the roller coaster, and when I started, when I stopped leaning on my own thoughts and started actively, and when I say actively praying, it's not that I wasn't praying, it's that prayer is also a conversation, and you have to be open. And I realized that once I did that, um, I wasn't afraid because out of the blue, and gee, there are so many ways to say this. I'm going to see if I can make it easy. Uh, I was on this journey long before my stroke.
Mm,
But when I had the stroke, everything became so much more clear
mm,
because the first thing that came to my mind when I woke up and was able to think, literally think,
mhm,
was I can do all things
mm.
through Christ who strengthens me. And that became my mantra through my whole recovery. And still, I'm 9 years past stroke. I'm still in therapy,
Right.
and I go every week, a couple times a week. Uh, and I still have that thought process, and I'm still making progress. It's slow, but I'm making progress. I think that I think that we all are afraid of what we don't know or understand. But when you remember that you're not on your own by yourself and that God is always with you, watching over you, that really cuts down on the fear. And that's not to say that I don't get afraid. When I decided to do this interview, I panicked afterwards. At first, it was like, oh, wow, that should be fun. And then I was like, what did you do?
What did you agree to? What is going on?
So, and I'll be honest, I prayed about it,
Yes, yes,
you know, because I pray about everything.
that's right.
So that's how I use my faith over fear. But it was a journey, and it was part of the journey, and it was a lesson. And but I'm still learning because God knows I'm not perfect.
Right.
But I keep trying because I can do all things through God who strengthens me.
I love that. You know, you just really, really touched somebody right there. Somebody who is going to be blessed to hear that and hear you say those just encouraging words. And, you know, I didn't even know that you were a stroke survivor. You know, they always say, thank God we don't look like what we've been through, because even to hear your new music and to hear your new songs and just to speak to you today, like you are such an overcomer. So that in itself is very inspirational. And I'm glad that you prayed about it and that you moved forward over your fear of not doing this conversation today, because let me tell you, this is very powerful. One other question I have is if someone has written music, or you know, they're in their mind, they get in their quiet place and they write, and they're like, oh, I want to use my gifts, but I'm just not sure what to do next. What advice would you give them according to your own testimony?
Well, the very first thing I would tell them to do is pray
Hmm.
because I think that's very important. But if I understand the question correctly, you're asking me what I would tell them that they're just starting out and don't know what direction to go.
Right, or they're just writing, they don't even know, they just know they have a love for music and art, but they really don't know, you know, what to do. Like, what would you tell someone based on your own testimony, if that is their yearning is to write music or to sing or to have an album out or to come out with new music like that?
Um, well, that's here's the funny thing about that. Back in the day, there wasn't Google, there wasn't the internet, so I didn't have any of that. But now the internet is full of opportunity and information.
Mhm.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would go there. However, what I did was I made a decision that this is what I wanted to do. And I knocked on doors and I made phone calls. Um, I wrote songs. I wrote songs before I even decided I was a songwriter. I was just writing songs. I liked music, so I did it. And then one day a friend said to me, oh, you're a singer songwriter. I'm like, no, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. And then I realized I have another gift. I have something else that I can do. So don't quit. Don't get discouraged. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I've been at it for a while. And uh, it doesn't happen overnight. And the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing is it doesn't happen until you're ready.
Mm.
And just because you think you're ready doesn't mean you are. Because I can tell you without hesitation that I thought I was ready. And I recognize now, looking back, that I was not ready. And God gave me a gift in making me wait.
Oh, that's good. That's
He
good.
really did.
Yeah.
Because the the music industry in general, entertainment industry in general, is a total different animal than the life that we live day to day.
Right.
Um, at least that has been my experience.
About being careful with people who will sell you a dream and want to take money from you to tell you that they will advance your career.
Right. I made the mistake of doing that years ago. And all I did was give away money I worked really hard for, you know, and saved up because they said I needed pictures and I needed to be part of this organization. And I actually like signed up for all of that. And it ended up to be absolutely nothing. They took my money. I never heard from them and I never got pictures.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
you have to be careful. I've sung in clubs of the whole week and then they didn't pay me.
Oh, wow.
So I learned at a very young age, get a contract,
Right.
get something in writing. You
You
know,
know one you know one thing you could say on your reintroduction? I see you are a consultant and a mentor for upcoming people who are going to use their voice and their gifts because a lot of people need to know. I mean, you're dropping these gems, and I hope that again that helps somebody because I was saying we live in such a sketchy time. You just have to be careful all the time. And like you, they'll take your money or they'll take time, which is just as precious and valuable that you spent a whole week at a club singing, and that's your time. So yeah, being very careful is something important.
but yeah, definitely don't give up.
Nice. Very nice. And right now, Tish, on Faith Over Fear, I like to give my guests an opportunity to reintroduce yourself. And when I say reintroduce yourself, it's not an introduction of who you are today, but who you are still becoming. So right now, I give you the chance and opportunity to reintroduce yourself, Miss Leticia Walker.
Wow. Well, my name is Leticia Walker, and I am soaring. I am soaring in the midst of God's love and his presence and the gifts that he gave me. And I'm sharing them with the world, and the world is a better place because of that.
That is fantastic. And that is just beautiful. What a way to kind of wrap up. But before we go, I want to know, how do people get in touch with you? How do people get to enjoy your beautiful music? How do they get to purchase your music and support you?
Well, that's a loaded question. Uh, I have a
Take it,
website.
chop it down, chop it up.
I have a website, leticiawalker.com. There you can purchase things, CDs, shirts, books, and I believe you can listen to my music. But also, I'm on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music, and I'm on places that I'm just learning. So if you Google my name, I'll come up somewhere. Um, but yeah, that's the best place. And I believe on the website, there's also an email address that you can write to me, which is very cool. This is my first time ever, and I've been at this for a while, that someone actually wrote to me, a fan from Oregon. I didn't
Wow.
know I had any fans in Oregon.
I love that. Absolutely do. Absolutely, I do. Wow. Okay. Well, is there anything you'd like to say that any question I didn't ask you, something you would like to say?
Wow. Well, you don't have a year, so I could talk forever.
Uh-huh.
But what I do want to do is thank you for this opportunity. Um, I was afraid of nothing, just like God told me,
Right.
and I had a really good time. It was nice to speak with you.
Oh, wow. And likewise, again, I'm so glad that you didn't shy away because I'm sure that the listener will be blessed. So there it is. We hope that you'll stay connected and follow me, listen to her songs and be inspired, just as I surely am. Today, you came to hear Conversations with Sha'E with an E. I pray that you follow your faith and allow your faith to overcome your fear and step into a world that is ready to be unlocked so that you can become who you were born to be. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And again, onward, upward is where we're going from here. And I hope you become everything you spoke into your own life. Thank you for the opportunity as well. And have a beautiful evening.